Hello again, Balloon people. When I moved back to the States a couple months ago, I was trying to think of more North American animals I can make, and currently what I already knew how to make was pretty much only the bear in black or brown, or a few other animals you can kind of get away with. Maybe it's alligators or rabbits. But anyhow, the very first design I came up with was a 2 balloon deer. So start out with a 260. I'm using mocha brown. I think it's a pretty good color. And we blow this up, leaving about 5 fingers of tail at the very end. And I tried to film this video yesterday, but unfortunately it was way too hot. I turned off my air conditioning, and within 15 minutes it rose maybe about 15 degrees in here. I had some balloons off to the side that I tossed over there. They were exploding on their own, and some rough stuff. But anyhow, start out with about 5, maybe even close to 6 fingers of tail on the end, especially if it's warm. The air inside will expand. So, start out with a small 1 to 2 finger ear twist. And one thing I'm not sure if I mentioned before is starting an ear twist in the very beginning of the balloon takes a little bit of practice. When I was first making them, for whatever reason, I wasn't getting that nice bean shape. I was kind of getting like a ball on the end and a long straight nozzle like that. And I realized quickly that it was because I was grabbing the nozzle. So one thing to help is pretty much grab under where your knot is and then twist it in. You should have a lot better of a shape. You follow with another ear twist. And then a 3/4 finger bubble. And then for the very top of the head, we do actually exactly as the alternative dog I've already showed you. So if you do have any problems with this part of the balloon design, please refer back to that video. It should be on a video called Dog-Shaped Animals, and you'll get a little bit better of a tutorial for that. So, again, another 2 to 3 finger bubble, or 1 to 2 finger bubble in the ear twist it. Same size bubble for the forehead, followed by one more same size bubble for the second ear. Now you should have something like this. And we connect these 2 joints on the outside of both ears with a lock twist. So pull up. You now have your ear's head. And typically, if one bubble is in the ear twist for the lips, is a little bit bigger, I'll put the large one at the top. Alright, now we continue on with a 3 finger bubble for the neck. And for the legs, especially whenever you're making a new design, you want to figure out about how much legs or a body length that you need. You can kind of actually fold it up and figure out what you're going to use. So say I want to use about 5-6 inches for a feet. I want to make a nice long body. I'm going to quickly realize that even though some of the air is going to go to the end, if I want a long body, I'm going to have some really little legs. So to kind of compensate and get a nice animal that's proportionate, I'm going to either have to make the legs shorter or make the body shorter. But for our design, this isn't too bad. So follow with a, probably about, we'll go 5 finger bubble for the legs. Repeat for the second leg. And then a 3.5 finger bubble for the body. And for the back legs, a good 5-6 inches. I mean, fingers. You should have a little bubble at the very end, and preferably you should have a little nipple on the end. But what you can do is actually kind of squeeze the top and make your own. But we'll get to that in a moment. Walk with the back leg. And now, typically what I do, I think it looks a lot better. I guess I could have made this body a little bit longer, or left a little bit, blown a little bit less. But I'm going to grab the end here and make the ear twist from the very end. That is one of the consequences of heat. Your balloons will expand, so you may lose a little bit of your tail. But you should end up with something similar to that. If you have a problem with the ear twist, you can simply leave it as that small bubble. So we currently have something that kind of looks like a dog with a horse face. But that will quickly change as we will grab another balloon for the antlers, and you can use white. I'm using ivory. If you don't have either of those, you can even use blush or other colors. But blow this up only about halfway. Since we're making a lot of ear twists, we're going to quickly use a good amount of this balloon. Tie it off. And start out with a small 1 to 2 finger bubble and 2 small 1 to 2 finger bubble ear twists. It's good to make these pretty proportionate, but actually it doesn't matter too much because they're for the deer's antlers, and most of the time they're not exactly the same anyhow. So you should have something like this, or something slightly different. But what we want is to grab the very first bubble that we made, and position it right on top of those other 2 ear twists. I repeat that same process. Small 1 to 2 finger bubble and 2 ear twists. Another thing, especially whenever air is expanding or your balloons are being really tight around ear twists, now one thing you can do is give it a nice little squeeze. That should help soften up your bubble whenever you make it and make all your twists easy. Alright, and then the same thing with the top. We'll bring this bubble, the excess balloon right between those ear twists that we have, and pinch off another at least 2 finger bubble. And now you should have something like this. And the same design can be used for making little bubbles for fish or octopus. Basically, the best thing to do is use one of the clear colors, like a diamond clear. And you can just bend that last balloon, and now you have little bubbles, and you can attach that right into its mouth or face. But for this use, it's antlers. So very similar to the giraffe I showed you. If you'd like to add antlers, you grab this and lay it right on the top of the head. Hopefully I'm in frame. And deflate a little bit of it bone, squeeze it right into the ear. Now, instead of just wrapping it around, remember to roll your balloons. That will reduce a lot of the friction and also keep your balloon from popping. Wrap that around. Soften my balloon up. Now, simply turn this and bring this right up to the other ear. And now we basically just repeat the same exact process, starting with a small 2 finger bubble and make the other antler. Now we have a deer with some antlers. So we pinch off a bubble to match the other one and snap off this extra, keeping your strap. So we're going to use this real quick now. Tie it off. Now, with this excess, I actually don't need this long of a balloon, so I'm going to trim mine. But you can trim it after or leave it as is. Just a small puff of air at the end of our balloon. And I typically either deflate a little bit or simply move the air down and give a little tip on the end, kind of giving it that lemon shape. You don't have to do this, but I kind of like it. Now, tie this right below this ear twist. Giving you a little white tail. Let's straighten up our deer. And grab some markers. And typically, I do a pretty simple design, especially for the eyes. I'll just do a simple little circle and an eyebrow. You can give it an oval nose. And I typically like when deer have those kind of, I guess you could call it a neck beard. And just for fun, we'll give them some spots. And another thing you can do, if you do have a white marker on you, none dropping. Hopefully it works. We could add in just a little bit of hair to color in some of these little spots. That's all optional. Anyhow, this is the balloon deer I make, and I think it's a pretty good design, especially if you've made the alternate dog and done the draft with the antlers on it, or whatever you call those things. This should be a pretty simple design that looks really good. So, hope you enjoyed, and have a nice night. Bye-bye.